Hi, this time I wanted to talk about how to roleplay using crunchy and even gamey systems. I'm going to put a few links on screen. Two of them will take you to a couple of videos produced by Flame Zombie or Tyler, as you may know him from my Super Smash Bros. Campaign, and another video from my stream with the time I appeared on a stream with Shunner, because some of the things overlapped. When it comes to crunchy systems, Flame Zombie talks about combat in crunchy systems. And in Shunner's video, we also talked a bit about the challenges or difficulties when it comes to using those systems. I wanted to expand upon that. It's always important to consider that when it comes to rolling dice, this is to resolve situations where the outcome is uncertain. Some people say roll when the situation could be interesting, but there could be many interesting situations, many interesting instances. So you could be rolling a lot. And when it comes to crunchy systems and even some meta currency situations, it can pull you away from the experience if it happens in an excess. So whenever you are running a game using any of those usually simulationist systems, you need to consider if it's worth it to use those highly simulationist, high granularity systems in that particular moment. Combat is a great example. Some combats may drag on, but some other combats are very exciting when they take a long time. It all depends on what you are looking for. What if you are role-playing a video game, TTRPG, a video game tabletop RPG? In many video games, for example, Final Fantasy, you have those amazing boss fights. The boss has so many hit points. You're dealing lots of damage, and it takes several turns or rounds for the enemy to go down. If you want to represent that experience, go for it. But you have to wonder if it's worth it to apply that sort of combat procedure or process with every single combat. Let's move away from video game style tabletop RPGs. Maybe you are playing Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, any D20 based system that derives its mechanics from those games. Considering initiative, and some people love initiative, I also love initiative. I have been playing this actual plays online without initiative because I am very versatile. You can also see how the themes differ quite a bit. You have like grim dark, bleak fantasy, and you also have this video game, almost like a comedy sort of game, action comedy. But I also love initiative mostly because of the tactical considerations. You need to think ahead about the turn order and what you can what you can accomplish considering that sequence. So when it comes to initiative, it can be quite the nightmare when you have so many enemies at the same time and even a large group of player characters. Now, depending on how you handle things, maybe you are handling initiative individually. That's pretty heavy, pretty hard. Maybe you are grouping the enemies in small subgroups. So you have a group of skeletons, a group of whites, and they act on different initiative order, but the skeletons are represented by a single roll, the whites by another single roll. That's a way of handling it. But then you have to consider that you're going to be making attack rolls for each one of those skeletons, each one of those whites. Things could drag on because that doesn't really happen in a real combat situation. Even if we were to consider initiative in a real life situation, when a fighter takes the initiative, approaches the other combatant, attacks first, however you want to visualize it. Even in those cases, there is usually such a very rapid exchange. There are even simultaneous exchanges. So let's say that you are playing a crunchy or gamey system where there are rarely simultaneous actions. The initiative wouldn't be exactly representative of those situations. You can take a look at any real life combat situation. Sometimes the blows happen at the same time in a lot of cases, but as well, you also have cases in which the combatant is taking the initiative, like that encounter in real life between Bruce Lee and the actor of the character Bolo Young. Bolo Young actually had no chance against Bruce Lee. He was so fast that in that friendly sparring, you could pretty much tell that, yeah, Bruce Lee had the advantage. Mostly because Bolo Young, although he was a martial artist, he was more like a bodybuilder. There is a channel called Golden Bell Training, and he speaks rather clears out a lot of false information about Bruce Lee. Very interesting channel to check it out. But using that as an example, Bruce Lee was winning the initiative constantly. Bolo Young could only focus on blocking and evading and parrying. So when it comes to a real combat situation represented through those crunchy and gamey systems, you need to take that into consideration. You won't be gaining or winning the initiative all the time, or rather, you won't be able to have like a mismatch of initiative. Suddenly, this character goes first, this other character has to wait. Suddenly, this character goes first, this other character has to wait. There are many cases where things happen so fast, so quickly at the same time. So in order to handle those situations, it's better. This is also mentioned during my stream with Shoner. I mentioned that, and Flame Zombie also mentions it in his videos. Automatic successes, some insta kills. It would be quite ridiculous that every single enemy always has to. You always need to deplete this pool of hit points in order for that enemy to go down. If it makes sense with the roleplay, maybe the player character gets not only an automatic not only an automatic hit, but also an automatic kill. So that's a way of handling things. When it comes to crunchy and gamey systems, I don't think this is much of an issue when it comes to skill rolls, skill checks, because they happen so fast. Although there are some cases in one of the editions of Gamma World, you have like this sub game that deals with interacting with electronic devices. In the Terminator role-playing game, there's also this hacking mini game. Many cyberpunk games have that hacking sort of mini game or sub game within the system. You have to think if it's worth it, if it's a good idea to put such emphasis on things like that. Maybe if it's a crucial check that could determine a vital thing about a particular mission in the adventure or the scenario, then go for it. Have that mini hacking game with the players quite nervous about the outcome, and they are carrying out their own actions, of course, while the hacker is carrying out that mini game or sub game. They should be able to take action. Maybe there is a battle going on and the hacker is trying to hurry up, and so you can play the combat sections of the encounter, but also the hacking mini game, handling it via turns, however you want to handle it. So even if you are using crunchy systems, gamey systems, pretty much any scenario or adventure can be played as long as you understand that the crunch, the gaminess, isn't there to be used in every single instance. It's only when the outcome is uncertain. Like I said, some people think when the situation is interesting because of it. I again avoid that because there are many interesting situations in a single session. So I prefer to handle it when the outcome is definitely uncertain. Do it like that. Or as I mentioned we talked about, Shanner and I mentioned that there were some particularly important encounters where you wanted the enemies to be as strong as the player characters with all of their hit points, everything. So in those moments, it's definitely exciting to have those long combats to see who wins. Perhaps all of the enemies are pretty elite. They are above the other enemies. They overclass, or yes, outclass the other enemies. Perfect moment to handle things in that simulationist gamey way, because you don't know if the characters will survive, if they have met their match. The outcome could be anything. So I hope this video was informative and entertaining. Let me know your own thoughts on these gamey systems, especially when it comes to exploding dice systems like Savage Worlds. Sometimes the dice keep on exploding, and it gets a bit silly and unnecessarily draggy when it comes to combat. Apply some common sense. Sometimes it's better to apply automatic successes based on roleplay, or deal lots of damage as well. You are not limited. If you can only deal a number of hit points when it comes to your weapon. If the player character or even the enemy came up with a brilliant strategy or tactic, maybe you deal a couple more extra damage dice. You don't have to wait for the critical. If the critical happens, go for it. But if roleplay happens, give priority to the roleplay and add those extra damage dice or levels of injury, depending on the system. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you. And see you later.